What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony and Mike. And we are starting 2022 off by talking about one of my favorite things. We're going to talk about Harry Potter, the 20th anniversary special that came out on New Year's Day. We don't really get a chance to talk about Harry Potter much on this podcast, or we haven't since we started, because there's not really been anything new, which is weird because, like, especially with Anthony and I, we are both like major Harry Potter geeks.
Yeah, but it always comes up as a reference.
Yeah, you get tons of references.
Every show
right.
we talk about.
And we talked about, I think we talked about it a little bit in our Dragon Con coverage, because I did a panel about They Who Must Not Be Named, talking about problematic authors and separating them from their art, which obviously we've had to do with Harry Potter for those of us who are trans supporters. So it's been weird. We talked about it at Conjuration because it was a Harry Potter based convention that we did. But other than that, we haven't really had a chance to talk about like the movies, the books. It's just hasn't come up. So yay, I'm glad we get a chance to talk about it. And before we start, I have to show y'all this. So I was in Walmart during the Christmas break, like maybe a week or two before Christmas, walking by and saw a Go Back buggy, and this thing was sitting in top of the buggy, and I picked it up and I was like, oh, this is cool. Let me go see what else they have. They didn't have any more in the store, so I ended up getting it. So you see this?
That is so cute.
Isn't it cute? So for the people who are listening and not watching, this thing is like an 18-inch Harry Potter seasonal plush. So he looks like a Funko doll with his big head.
He really does.
Plushie, and he's holding a red ornament. So it's really, really cute. And I picked it up and carried this thing around like a baby all through Walmart, and couldn't find any others because I was looking, I was like, do they have Ron? Do they have Hermione? Because I'm a Ron fan. So I was like, they gotta have a Ron. I didn't see any others. So I was like, okay, I'll take Harry home, and hopefully next Christmas they might have the others. So yeah, but
that's a pretty big Harry.
He's very big. So but Leia,
he looks a little bigger than 18 inches too. But I know video.
24. Yeah, he
video
might be
makes
24.
a little different.
He might be 24 inches. Well,
but then again, you're short, so I mean, everything.
You know what? We are not about to have this conversation today. But apparently he's not big enough for Leia, because Leia keeps knocking him off of my bookcase. Every time she walks past him, she knocks him off. I'm like, really? This thing is twice your size. She don't care. But first, I should say initial thoughts. What did you think about the special? Like, were you emotional? Anthony, did you start crying within the first 5 minutes like I did, or was that just me?
That was just you. I mean, I may
you
have,
ain't no real fan. No.
I may have shed a tear or two.
Okay.
I tried to hide my face from the person I live with, whom I'm related to by marriage.
Why? She wasn't emotional too?
I don't know, because I was not trying to look in her direction just in case. So I had a few moments. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I really did. She's making hand signs to me, so I'm just gonna ignore her for now. I enjoyed it. It brought up some memories. It actually brought up some things I had never thought about before concerning the series, and I'll talk about it later. But initial impressions was it was pretty good. I only had one thing that was an issue. They didn't talk about John Williams and the music, but I know that wasn't the focus of the show. But I thought the music is as much of a character as the characters,
right?
Because when I hear the theme, when I hear is it Hagrid's song? When I hear that
Hagrid's theme, Hagrid's theme.
You can't get it out of your head. That you just can't. And I think the music is just as much a part of the show as the characters are. So that was the only thing. But other than that, I thought it was fabulous.
Yeah, I know they have talked about the music in other things before, like some of the behind the scenes that you get with some of the DVDs. You know, they release like so many different types of DVDs with special features. So I know they talk about it there. I think this one was supposed to be more so kind of like a nostalgic journey. I feel like part of it was to kind of deflect from some of the negative that we hear with not necessarily Harry Potter fandom, but again, you know, mentioning She Who Must Not Be Named. And
it surprised me that they had clips of her in there.
But they made sure they said filmed in 2019.
Mm-hmm. Made sure.
So my best friend and I, we were watching it at the same time. She's in North Carolina, I'm here. So we waited until we were both free so that we could watch it together and like text back and forth. And that was the one thing we both texted to each other at the same time. We were like, they made sure everybody knew that she wasn't a part of this, you know, the whole live thing, which, you know, is cool. I mean, I'll be honest, it's still her creation. You know, we are grateful to her for creating this world that has brought so many people together, but it was strange, you know. That
I mean, it's always going to be kind of strange when like someone who created or sang or wrote something gets involved in some bullshit and you're like, oh God, what the fuck am I gonna do now? It's just like when Kevin Spacey, all that shit happened with Kevin Spacey and everybody was watching House of Cards was like, oh fuck, I can't watch House of Cards anymore. I can't watch Usual Suspects. It's just like, I mean, to a lesser, J.K. Rowling is nowhere near as tough as R. Kelly, but it's just like, you know, people still listen to R. Kelly. We're like still listening, Step in the Name of Love and stuff. But
I don't.
Like I said, we can't.
I don't. I can't. I can't.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean, it's kind of hard. Like you said, some people. I mean, it's hard for some people to separate the artist from the douchebag, or douchebagette, as the case may be. It's like some people just like really like something that they do, and they're like, "Oh, I can look past all that." But you know, I mean, I'm with you. I was like, some certain things. I'm like, you know what, I'm done with you. I can't do it.
I think part of it is for me, my connection to Harry Potter. Yes, I love the series. I got him, you know, I got really attached to the characters, but for me, it was more so the family that I found through Harry Potter. Like several of my best friends I found because of Harry Potter. A lot of you know, my fandom experiences, my first paid blogging gig, and all this other stuff all had to do with Harry Potter. So that's why I associate with that more than, you know, the other stuff. But we're not going to get into this. This is going to be a fun discussion. We're not going to talk about She Who Must Not Be Named. We're going to leave Voldemort over there and just, you know, focus on this stuff.
Morticia. Can we call it Voldemort Tisha?
Huh? What'd you say?
I was saying, can we go ahead, Nick?
No, go ahead, Mike.
I was saying we can call it Voldemort Tisha.
No, I'm just going to stick to She Who Must Not Be Named and be done with it.
Yeah, I was saying how you and I met because of Harry Potter, right?
Yeah. Well, we worked together first, and then we kind of bonded and got closer or became more friends because of Harry Potter.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of happened with me with a couple of people that I've worked with before. Like one of my best friends, she and I worked in the same office and we were cool. And when I first started working at that office, when I went from part-time to full-time and, you know, got a cubicle to decorate, I have some Harry Potter dolls that are actually in my bedroom right now. And I had them sitting on my desk, and she walked past my desk and she kind of stopped and she looked back. She was like, wait a minute, are you a Harry Potter fan? I was like, yes. She sat down at my desk and she was like, girl, let's talk. And literally that's how we started our friendship. She and I went to our first Dragon Con together because Matthew Lewis, who plays Neville, and James and Oliver Phelps, who plays the twins, were coming to Dragon Con. So that was my introduction to Dragon Con way back in 2007. So I have a lot of good memories with, you know, the Harry Potter.
Yeah, because I remember you were in the media center and Michelle was like, oh, you know, because I knew Mia because I had substitute in her class, and she was like, "Oh, her mom works in the media center. She's in the Harry Potter," because I had just started reading the books.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh," and so I went to the media center and we started talking about Harry Potter. That's because I knew you, but I didn't really know you until we started talking about that stuff.
Yeah, that was a fun time. I loved working. I worked in the elementary media center, and I loved it. That was actually my introduction to Harry Potter because I was in there all the time. And the kids were like, we couldn't keep the Harry Potter books on our shelves. Like we had several copies of each book. I think at that time it was up to Order of the Phoenix. And we couldn't keep them on the shelf. And what happened was one of the banks in our neighborhood gave a donation of books to our school's media center. And as I'm going through cataloging the books, there was a box set of the first 5 books. So my supervisor at the time, and also one of my mentors, he had been trying to get me to read Harry Potter forever. And I just wouldn't, because at that time I was just getting out of a church situation that was kind of sort of culty. And I've mentioned this before in other podcasts or whatever, but, they were one of those that was kind of on the fence, or, telling people that when you read stuff with witchcraft, it was, anyway, you guys know where I'm going with that. So I just never read the books. And being in there, I was like, okay, well, I guess I should take them home and read them. So he let me take the books home before we ever put them on the shelf. And I tell everybody, people laugh at me when I tell them this story. So I took the books home on a Thursday. It was right before spring break in 2005. I remember this because I was like, okay, so I have these 3 days for this week. We work next week, or actually spring break was the following week. So I was like, okay, I'll have like 10 days to read these books. I was a pretty fast reader back then. So I was like, okay, I can do this. Took the books home on Thursday, started with book 1. I was finished with all 5 by Sunday evening. 3 days, I read all 5 books. And this is that was 2005 at that time, at a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So everybody was like, how in the world did you do this? I said, literally, I took that book everywhere. I sat on the couch and I folded laundry. I cooked with it. I was in the bathroom with it. I took a bath and I had it sitting on a stand. Like I took those books everywhere and read. So that was kind of how I got into it. And then I joined a message board. I'm dating myself now. I joined a message board. And one of the chat rooms for the message board was Harry Potter fans 30 and over. And I was like, wait, there's more? And got into it. And it was like, at that point, I think that chat room had like 10,000 members. I was like, wait, what? So that was kind of me dipping my toe into the Harry Potter universe. And I still have friends from that initial chat room that I'm friends with now, that have surpassed like real life friends. Some of these people I've never met in person, some I have. So it holds a very special place for me in terms of that. And then I was going through a lot of stuff personally at that time too. So it kind of helped me through some really, really dark personal stuff. And that's just kind of, why it's still cemented in my heart as a fandom. Like I haven't read the books in a long time. I only watch the movies sporadically now, but I still like feel so connected to this fandom. And I'm sure you guys have like maybe similar experiences. And I know Anthony and we belong to an adult HP group here in Atlanta that we started going to. Like I started going there in like 2007, right after Dragon Con. And Anthony started coming a little while after that, he and his wife. I think Michelle's been to a couple of meetings as well, right?
Yeah, one or two.
Yeah.
One or two. And we still have some good friends from there, like Dina and Adam and Errol's and Denise, whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
A lot of fun people. I didn't think, like, for me getting into it, like I was always a reader. And I just kind of like, I'm not going to read Harry Potter because that's kids' books. Who wants to read the children books? I don't want to. I was done with the YA. I was an adult, but I picked up Sorcerer's Stone. I was like, oh my God, this is actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and since they're easy reads, you go through them fast.
Well,
And
they
I
were
went
easy
through,
reads, and then once you
yeah,
get to Prisoner of Azkaban, it's kind of like, wait, this
yeah,
is taking a turn.
yeah. But you know, I went through them pretty fast, and for me, I had stopped reading for the most part up until that
Same.
point.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I don't know if I don't remember. I think because when you go to law school, you read a lot. You read a lot, and so when you're done, you don't want to read anymore,
Right.
unless you have to.
Right.
So getting back into it, I was like, oh my God, this is really good. So it actually brought me back to a passion that I had before, which was
Same.
reading fan. It's not fantasy, but it felt like fantasy to me. And it rekindled that passion I have for reading, because Michelle will tell you after that, I read all the time. Like I couldn't stop reading.
Yeah.
And it brought that back for me. And then I didn't have a lot of people to hang out with. I didn't really hang out with anyone until the HP, and then I started hanging out with you guys, and that was fun.
Yeah, we had
and then
some fun.
seeing y'all at Dragon Con, that was fun. You know, because I had been going. It was just me and Brandon, my best friend. It was just us up until then. I started hanging out with HP people.
Yeah,
and he'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna go hang out with them now?" Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll catch you later.
See, he missed out on some good hang time. So,
but
Mike, how did you get into HP?
Basically through the movies. My secret shame is that I've never read the books.
Oh Lord, we're gonna have to fix that for real. We gotta fix that.
But I mean, to be honest, I mean, just like y'all, it's like I've been an avid reader like through high school, through college. Like anything you put in front of me, I'd read. So it's like when I found out, when I saw the movie, when I saw the previews for the movie, I was like, yeah, I might check it out. But then it's like because I had been hearing about like how books were being, how they're banning the books from schools because you know it's witchcraft and all that other stuff. And the one thing about me, like back in the day, is like if you handed me a list of books I couldn't read, I'd buy every last one of them and go read them.
Right.
So it's like, or I'd try to figure out what it's about. But at this time, it's like I was like, you know what? I'll check out the movie before I read the books. So I went and see the movie. Of course, movie blew me the fuck away. I was like, that's pretty dope. Okay. So then it's like I pretty much just watched the movies because I think at that time I was more into murder mysteries, and I just never really had a chance to pick them up. People have been trying to give them to me. They've been like, here, you see, like the books are so much better. I'm like, yes, I know the books are always usually better than the movie. Yes, I know. See, like, here, read. I'm like, okay. And I just never really had a chance to, but I've seen them, and it's like, I think Harry Potter is the one fandom where it's kind of a good dichotomy of what a fandom is, because it's such a diverse fandom. Like, you know, I mean, they're from all walks of life, all ages. I mean, I think even more so than a lot of other fandoms, this one is really more diverse than a lot of them. Like, especially Marvel, DC, probably like any other like fantasy fandom. Like it's such a diverse and close knit fandom that, you know, I mean, it's like if you go to a con and you see people in their robes, you're gonna be like, hey, and it's like you'll start talking instantly. It's not like people, if you see like two people dressed up as superheroes, they'll probably be like, oh, cool, and keep walking. But it's like most people, I've noticed like people who like don't have never met the person before in their life, if they're in the same house, they'll just instantly start talking it off.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's what's really cool about the Harry Potter fandom. Is like people are like, they're, you know, there are no strangers. Like,
Right.
there's no strangers in the fandom.
Right. You see, we're all representing our houses. I've got on my Hufflepuff shirt. Anthony has on a Ravenclaw shirt that his wife made for him, and Mike has got on his Ravenclaw hat as well. I'm a little bit outnumbered, but that's okay. All right. Hufflepuff rules.
I was reminded that we started listening to the audiobook when Michelle was in graduate school and we were driving to Athens.
Wow.
And so we were listening to the audiobook in the car.
Okay.
So that's how we jumped in.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, she was the one that wanted to listen to it, weren't you? Yeah, it was her.
Oh, so she was the cool one first, and then you okay, right. okay. Right. I'm not.
And then I was like, oh, this is kind of good, and I started diving into the books.
Okay. Gotcha.
I stand corrected again.
That's the lovely thing about having her sitting next to you while you're recording. Oh, that's funny.
No comment.
So let's talk about the reunion special. Overall, I enjoyed it. Very nostalgic. I did shed a few tears. Like, I mean, even just listening to the music when it first came on, I was just like, okay, here we go. I was like, here's my tissue. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be strong. I'm gonna be okay. When they showed Hogwarts and started playing, I think it was Harry's Wondrous World at that point, I was like, we ain't even 5 minutes into this. Okay, I'm gonna be strong for the rest of the episode. And no, there were some tearjerker moments, but I think my first thoughts when I watched it the first time, I actually watched it. I've watched it 3 times now. I watched it once on New Year's Day. I watched it once the next day with my older daughter. And then I watched it just before we started recording because I had some thoughts and I needed to kind of go back and see if what I was remembering was correct. But one of the first things that I noticed that kind of threw me was that, did it seem to you like, for the most part, the trio filmed everything separately from everybody else? Like they may have been there at 2 different times?
Yes,
because
it seemed that way.
Yeah, because it's interesting that the whole thing starts out with Emma. You know, the way that they kind of introduced the reunion show was that you kind of get an overview of London, and then you see like Emma in a bookstore. You see Robbie in a coffee shop, and then you see Matthew Lewis in a taxi cab. And at the stroke of 5, they all get Hogwarts letters, you know, with the address of where they are, and it's inviting them to this reunion special. So you see Emma coming to the Hogwarts Express. You see her greeting, who was it, Ivana Lynch and Bonnie Wright, Luna and Jenny on the train. You get to see like different people coming into the Hogwarts Express. You get to see Mark Williams and James and Oliver Phelps, you know, Weasley's boarding the train. You see Gary Oldman and Helena Bonham Carter and different things. So it's like you get to see these people arrive, and then you see Emma arrive at Hogwarts, and this is where they're having like a Christmas ball, kind of a Yule ball type thing. So you see her go to greet different people. Like she sees Tom Felton, she gives him a hug. You see Alfred Enoch. I'm gonna always call him Alfie, but he's a grown man now, so I have to remember Alfred. I noticed that when he starred on How to Get Away with Murder, I'm like, he is not Alfred, he's Alfie, damn it, he's gonna always be Alfie. And then I have to remember that they're actually not that far behind us in age, like only 10 years. So I'm like, oh, okay. But anyway, so you get to see him, and you know, you get to see all the different people like kind of milling together and talking with each other. And then as I was watching, I noticed, I was like, wait a minute. I said, that means Emma was the only person who interacted with the rest of the younger cast, because you never see Daniel or Rupert interact with any of the others. And that was strange for me. It was kind of sad too, because I was like, we know that those main 3 are the stars of the films, but you know, the friendships within the films with the characters were very important. And it just kind of felt a little off to me to not see them interact. But then I thought about it. I was like, okay, it does seem a little bit more formal with the three of them as opposed to with the others. And it just, I don't know, it felt weird. Like, I love seeing the three of them together, but something about that vibe and then the vibe with the rest of the people and the rest of the cast, it just seems so different.
Did Rupert interact with anyone else? Was he not with all the Weasleys when they were together?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I wondered if scheduling had a lot to do with it.
That's what I started wondering too.
But because it seemed like Daniel had a lot more because he talked to Gary Oldman. He also was with HBC.
Mm-hmm. He was with a lot of the older cast, but he didn't interact with anybody else in the younger cast. No. So that's why I started wondering, because I was like, it feels like a reunion, but at the same time, it kind of feels, like I said, that whole part of it feels weird. Like, okay, me, so people in my friend group know me as the hugger. I'm the one who, when I see you, if it's been a long time, I have the joyous reaction. I give the bear hugs. Like, that's how I am when I haven't seen somebody that I care about for a long time. And you saw that with Emma and Tom, even though, we'll talk about their part of the special later on, but you see it with Emma and Tom. You saw it with the way Daniel and HBC greeted each other, but I kind of wanted to see that with the three of them. And it's like, instead, when they're first introduced, they're all sitting in chairs, like way apart from each other. There's almost no intimacy within the three of them. I
think I would have wanted to have seen more, like when I saw Tom Felton talking to Alfred and Matthew. Yeah. I wanted to see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted more of those people and the twins and everyone else interacting.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the big three are the big three and everyone wants to hear them talk and see what's going, but one of the better appeals to the show or to the story, especially the movies, are the background characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know until last night that I had a crush on Ivana Lynch?
Yeah, Luna.
I did not know that until I'm sitting there watching, like, yeah, I actually love Luna Lovegood. She's like one of my favorite characters. And then Ivana, I'm like, wow, she's actually pretty awesome.
And if you follow them all on like social media, especially like one of the things that Emma mentioned, she said that, for Katie and Ivana and Bonnie, she said one of the things that she loves about them is that they've all become like really great activists, and she's so proud of them. If you follow them on social media,
I have a disclaimer. The crush on Ivana Lynch is now, not then.
Oh,
I know she was like a child, so
I
just want everyone to understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
I was going to say that goes without saying, but then again, for some people, maybe not. So
I literally assumed you meant in the show. I didn't. I was going to say.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just want to make sure our audience understands.
Yeah.
I don't want any emails about it.
Yeah. You didn't mean it in the creepy uncle type of way. No.
Right.
Got it. But so it was. I loved seeing the three of them together. I'm not saying that. It just, in a way, it felt formal, if that's the right word I'm looking for, except for Emma. Like, Emma, I think you could tell and I think, as they've gotten older, I won't say that they've necessarily tried to distance themselves from Harry Potter, but, they've all done other things. And it's like, okay, yeah, Harry Potter is where I started, but I've done other things too. I want to be known for that too. So I can kind of understand that, but it's almost like Emma, once they started doing this, Emma realized how much she missed it, because she was so enthusiastic the way she talked. She was very emotional. And then you can see anytime Daniel does an interview, he's kind of animated and he's very funny. Even when he's not trying to be, he's just kind of there. Rupert was just sitting back chilling, like, yep. But he was a lot more vocal in the parts where they had him just to himself. But it's like while he was there, he was just letting Dan and Emma talk, and you could just see his face lighting up like, yeah. But I feel like Rupert was probably like, okay, what is the baby doing? What is she doing? Because I think out of all of them, those that were there, I believe he's the only one with a kid as far as the younger cast. I think he's the only one with the kids. Some of the other ones have kids that weren't there last night, but I just felt like I was kind of sort of looking at Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Like Ron is in the background soaking it up. And then once you get him to himself, he starts talking. But it was weird, but it was fun because you could kind of see like shadows of Harry, Ron, and Hermione while they were having their conversation. But like I said,
but I also kept getting the impression that they weren't, I don't want to use the word honest, but I could tell there were a lot of things left unsaid. And I wonder if Rupert was one of those people like, I got a whole lot of stuff I could say, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and just stick to the script.
Yeah, I kind of
got that feeling.
Okay.
I kind of got the feeling that there were certain points I thought Rupert was just like, are we done yet? Like, can I go? Like, I mean, other than the parts where, like you said, when filmed alone, he was talking a lot, but like when they were like talking about certain things, he was like, oh yeah, right, yeah, I remember that, right, yeah, right. And it's like I'm gonna be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if he forgot some of the stuff that they were talking about. I mean, I'll just be honest, because some people don't remember that kind of detail, like the whole thing where Emma was talking about her pet hamster. And Dan was like, oh, yeah. But that was funny because Rupert, when it came to that, Rupert was like, yeah, you remember, he was like, the crew made a coffin for it and everything. And I was like, wait, what? And Daniel was like, hold up, I definitely wasn't paying attention to all of that. So I think it was like different things that they remembered, but like some of the behind the scenes things he probably didn't remember, because if you look at interviews that he did back then, and even the way he talks now about the way he was back then, he was pretty much channeling Ron. And Ron is one of those characters where some of the times he's not going to pay attention to that stuff. And I just felt like he was probably quiet, not because there were things he didn't want to say, but he was probably like, did that happen? Oh yeah.
The funniest thing was when they were talking about having to write the essays for the characters.
I've heard that story so many times, and I laugh every single time I hear it.
It's hilarious.
Single time I hear it. I'm gonna tell you what the funniest part of the reunion was for me. Daniel and HBC running around Gringotts acting like children. Yeah. That was the best part to me.
No, the best part was when she read the note that he wrote, because he shot at what, 13, 14?
Yeah.
He was like, if only I had been born 10 years
later. Oh my God. Hey, shoot your shot, young man. Shoot your shot.
Shoot. Her putting in her teeth. Daniel's like,
smell.
Daniel's like,
put them in, aren't you?
Daniel's like, and she has assured me that these teeth have not been cleaned since she took them out of her mouth at the end of filming. So yeah,
that is such an HBC thing to do, though.
It is.
Think about her. That's
and it was hilarious.
And shout out to her for looking like she aged backwards. Like, what the fuck,
dude? She looked good. Well, actually, they all look good. Even Mark Williams with the salt and pepper hair, the salt hair, looks good. They all look really good.
Yeah, I was looking at her. I was like, damn, I guess Tim Burton did age the fuck out of you.
You know
it. But it's like, yeah, her, and it's like, yeah, and my personal hero Matthew Lewis, the king of the glow up, like still look good.
You know, and I have to say,
I'm saying he is an undisputed king of the glow up. Like a 5 movie glow up, there's no competition at all.
Well, here's the funny thing though. So you have to realize that in the last few films, they actually put fake teeth and a fat suit on him. Because, you know, as you go through puberty, sometimes your you don't look or sound, or things change about you, and they wanted to keep that, I guess, consistent with the character. But I will also say too, I've met him several times at Dragon Con. He is one of the nicest, absolute nicest people there are. I've told this story several times, but one of the times I was at Dragon Con, my kids were too little to go at the time, and so I went to go see him to, meet him, get his autograph or whatever. And he actually got on the phone with my kids and talked to them for a few minutes. So that was like one of the best Dragon Con and celebrity experiences I've had. So he's really cool.
You are good at getting celebrities to talk to your kids on the phone, aren't you?
It was
like
just
5 of those stories.
It was just him. No, it was just him and Jim Beaver from Supernatural, and that's only because Jim and I, we used to interact on Twitter all the time, and I actually had met him at another convention several years back, and I was just shocked at the fact that he remembered me. And he, my daughter was with me. He was like, "You have another daughter and you have a son too?" I was like, "Yeah, son's too young to come. Daughter was too tired after yesterday." So he got on the phone and fussed at her. So yeah, but getting back to HP, yeah, Matthew is one of the nicest guys, always smiling, very friendly to his fans. He came to the Yule Ball it wasn't that first year. I think it was the second time he came to Dragon Con. He actually came to the Yule Ball, spoke to people.
If they looking for a replacement for Daniel Craig as James Bond, they should just call Matthew Lewis.
You know what? I would not be mad at that. I would not be mad at that at all. That would, I would sign that petition. Yes, let's get Matt, because I think he could do it.
He could do it.
He could do it. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, let's put that out there in the universe.
Jason Isaacs looked pretty good too.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how they are at the age they were in the 19 years later? Aren't they close to that age?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I think either Daniel or Rupert mentioned that.
About it. Yeah.
They said something about, we look better than we did in the epilogue. And that's even in the second epilogue, because if you ever saw pictures from the first epilogue, before they went in and did reshoots, they looked so old. And I was like, and I think it made me mad because for Deathly Hallows, I was actually the age that they were supposed to be in the epilogue. And I was like, I don't look nowhere near that bad. So they need to fix this. And then they did reshoots. There's an echo somewhere. They did reshoots and it looked a little bit better, but I still felt like y'all still look a little bit old. But Rupert did say that he I guess they changed his hairline and they put him in a little fat suit. So that's, I guess, kind of realistic. They didn't look as bad in the epilogue as people make them out to be. I just don't feel like they
did.
They didn't look that, because I have seen some people who are that age. They were supposed to be 36, and Jenny, I think, was probably supposed to be now Jenny, I will say they did age her a little bit too much, because Jenny is a few years younger than them. And they did make her look like they had the darks, their eyes were a little darkened. So they did make her look a little bit older, but I have seen some people at that age, 36, who look like they might be 20 years older. So they didn't look that bad. I think they could have looked better. But,
Yeah.
I don't know, because I'm going to be honest. We're African-American, Black don't crack. Some of us will be 70 still looking younger than us now. So, I didn't think it was as bad as people. I know people who absolutely hated it, and I mean, even to this day they still talk about it. I'm like, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, they looked a little older, but who knows? I mean, think about it. They were stressed out as kids. That had to have caught up. That had to have caught up with them. It had to.
Harry was almost literally murdered twice Like
no, Voldemort came after this dude every single year for 7 years.
No, he was Avada Kedavra twice.
Well,
as
yes,
a baby and as a
yes,
teenager.
that will age a person. So yeah, they were all right. But I'm trying to think.
I did enjoy. I enjoyed seeing them all together. Like I said, especially the background people.
Yeah. I wish we could have seen more of them though.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have been mad if they had done maybe another 30 minutes and we could have actually gotten a little bit more of the background characters, or like talked a little bit more to the Weasleys, or even like Tom and Alfred, Matthew, like get all of them together. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that would have been cool. It would have been fun.
James and Oliver, even Bonnie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you know, now that I think about it, I think some of that had to have been filmed. Like they couldn't have all been filmed together, because I can't see where Jason Isaacs and Tom Felton would not have done a segment together, because they talk a lot off screen. Like even now they've gotten together, you know, since then. Like when they talk to each other on social media, they're still dad and son. So like they really have a close relationship.
That was funny when Tom, he was like really, really nice. And then he'd be like the worst person in the world, and he'd be really nice again.
It's like where he hit him with the cane and actually bit him. Then he was like, "Oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry."
So let me tell you, that cane, those teeth, real deal. Because I had a group of friends that hung out like very regularly, like 2008 to 2010. And one of them is a huge Lucius Malfoy fan. So what we did for her birthday one year, instead of us all getting her individual gifts, we all pitched in and bought her the Lucius Malfoy cane that comes with the wand. And let me tell you, nice. Those teeth, they really are sharp. They really do hurt. So yeah, I can imagine just having those teeth put in that poor little baby's hand. But then when he said that, Tom said, "No, it'll be good for the scene." Like, who thinks of that at 11 years old? Like, no. The funny part was when he was talking about the auditions, and he said that they had the boom mic up, and he said this little girl says, "Well, what is that?" And he was like, "I think I even said a boom mic, duh." And then he said that, you know, I'm sitting here saying all of this, but I had never really been on set before. He said, and I remember that because that little girl was Emma. I started hollering. I said, "Oh, so you were Draco and Hermione right from the start." Like, she's trying to get more knowledge. Like, what is this weird thing? And he's like, duh, it's a microphone. That was fun. Speaking of those two, I know that they say there is nothing romantic between them. I need them to, they're a couple in my mind now, just whatever. They're a couple.
Yeah, especially after saying all that, she was like, "I had such a crush on him," and then I'm like, "Add."
Yeah.
Then what was the last thing she said? "That's my story. I'm sticking to it."
She was like, "That's all I can say about that." Or that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I follow everyone on social media, and I know that like Tom has shared posts like pre-pandemic. One of them will come out to see the other, and they like hang out or whatever, and it'd be like really fun, really, really friendship type things. You know, I'm not saying that they're not. I believe they are real close friends, but if y'all got that much affection for each other, and there's been issues, like neither one of them, far as I know, is in a relationship right now, I just need y'all to go on ahead and just do it. Just go for it. I feel like a mother, like pushing these two together. Like they were cute talking.
You know who's a good boy? That Tom Felton. You should talk to him.
They just seem so cute, and they have genuine affection for each other. I loved it though. I mean, but even if they're not, you know, in a relationship or whatever, I really like seeing that even after all of these years, those two, if nobody else, those two seem like they are still very close friends and they have genuine affection for each other. And I like seeing that because all of them were together for so long. Like Gary Oldman said, it feels like, he said it really did feel like a family, because you don't really have any other films where, I can't think of any other films that went 8 series. You know what I'm saying? That's a long time to be on set with the same people.
Yeah, not with the same cast. No.
Right. And I mean, I think they even said they had the same crew. So, I think that's, that's just something I like here. And I like seeing the way they got together. Sirius telling HBC, he was like, "You killed me." And she was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but it had to be done." I was like, "No, it didn't. It did not. It absolutely did not have to be done." Like, let me tell you, reading the books and then watching the films, I held on to the possibility that Sirius was still alive. I was like, he's just beyond the veil.
How many message boards and
fan fictions and
about him coming back for the veil, all the different theories, which I don't have a theory, all the different theories.
I'm sorry, what was that?
About him. He didn't really die. He was dead.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, because in the books, she never said a spell.
No,
when she hit him, she used nonverbal magic. And of course, we could go into differences between book and films. In the films, they used a lot of nonverbal magic, which in the books you couldn't do unless you were of a certain level of wizard. But for films, I think now that I'm older and thinking about the films, it probably worked out better that way, because especially like during the battle scenes, I really don't want to hear you yelling out every single spell every time you're doing it. That's just tedious.
We've had that conversation about
we have. But it was still one of those, even though she said the curse, I was still holding on to the fact that he could come back. But I think what happened was, I think Order of the Phoenix, the movie, came out, I'm trying to think, right before Deathly Hallows. And I think when I saw the movie, that's kind of what convinced me in my mind that even in the later books, he would not come back. Because like I said, reading it in the books, you kind of think that there's a chance for him to come back.
Because he just fell through the veil.
He just fell through the veil. And I think even the color of the spell that hit him was different. So you think, okay, there's a chance. There's just, Luna says she hears other voices. Harry can hear other voices. So maybe there's a chance. When I saw it in Order of the Phoenix and she did the spell and he went through, I cried so much, because I was like, oh, that means he can't come back in the books, because they would never have killed him in the movies if they knew he was still going to be alive in the books. I lost it then. I was like, really? No.
That actually reminds me of something else that I liked when, speaking of book and movies, how, because I had heard the story before, how Alan Rickman knew what was going to happen to his character.
Yeah.
I remember reading that in an interview.
Gary Oldman was like, he did? He's like,
yeah, his response to that was hilarious, because he was like, of course he did. Of course he had an end. Like, it's Alan Rickman. Yeah. Who else? But yeah, I remember.
And even the director, when he said, why did you do that? I'll tell you later.
But I remember when I first read that in an interview, either I read it or I think I saw it. I saw him talking about it. And he was talking about how he went to dinner with She Who Must Not Be Named, and they were talking about it, and he asked her, he was like, is there anything that you can tell me that would like influence my performance? Is there something that I need to know? And then she told him, and I was like, so he sat on this for the whole 10 years and never told a soul. Like, that's the person you want keeping your secrets. Right. That is the person you want keeping your secrets.
Imagine how many acting choices he made just based on having that inside knowledge. How many times he told the director, no, I'm going to do it this way. He's like, why? Trust me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. That was interesting, you know, and like I said, watching Gary Oldman's reaction when Dan told him that, he was just so tickled. And then he was like, of course, it's Alan. Who wouldn't tell him? Like, Alan Rickman probably could have gotten the secrets to all of his roles without even asking, and would have just carried on like he didn't know a damn thing.
And that brings up something else I wanted to talk about. I didn't realize it at the time, and I didn't realize it until watching the special, like how many brilliant British actors were in this series. Like the cream of the crop, the best of the best were in this children's story.
Right. And like Chris Columbus said, it was so funny because the kids, you know, when they were doing Philosopher's Stone, he said they really had no idea of the magnitude of British acting royalty that they were working with. And then when Dan started talking about the whole Gary Oldman thing, and Emma was like, yeah, you were like, you got to be cool. It's Gary Oldman. Like, I was like, I can actually see Daniel saying that, because even watching, if you ever watched any of the interviews and behind the scenes stuff, when he talks about Gary Oldman, even back then as a 14-year-old, he talked about him with such reverence and respect and love, you know, and I just remember reading stuff about how close they did get on set. It almost was like the uncle, nephew, or, you know, mentor, mentoree, mentee, you know, relationship. And so that was nice to see, because you could still see a little bit of that there. And then to hear the other people like David Heyman and Chris Columbus talk about the relationship, and Alfonso Cuarón, listening to them talk about the relationship and how it, you know, how it kind of formed those two characters was really good. Because I will tell you this, as far as the character of Sirius Black, when I read him in the books and he went through the veil, I actually did not have much of a reaction, because the way that she wrote that relationship, it was supposed to be godfather, godson, but you kind of got the feeling that in the books he was only looking at Harry as like, well, not only looking at, but he was mainly looking at Harry as a replacement for James, you know. And if you think about it, the amount of time that Sirius spent in jail in Azkaban, like, think about it, he was around 21 when he got locked up. So mentally, as far as seeing Harry and seeing this, you know, this spitting image of his best friend who he lost at such a young age, and Harry at that time was between 14 and 17 when he started getting to know him, I could see him, you know, kind of putting Harry in that spot to replace his best friend. But in the books, I didn't really feel connected to him, because I felt like, oh, you know, he just looks at him as a replacement to James. He's not looking at him as an actual separate person. I feel like we got to see that fleshed out a little bit more in the movies. And that's what made me love that relationship, because yes, there was that one moment in Order of the Phoenix where they were fighting and he says, nice one, James. Yeah. But that's the only time you ever really see him make that connection or make that mistake. The rest of the time when you see them in the films, they really are like godfather and godson. And that's what endeared me to that relationship in the films, which is why it hurt so fucking much when he went through the veil, because I felt it then. And then in that movie, Order of the Phoenix, when he went through the veil and Lupin was holding Harry and he did that scream and there was nothing coming out, that was one of the most gut-wrenching scenes for the film series for me ever. I think the only one that tops it is Amos Diggory yelling after Cedric gets killed.
Oh my God. That when they showed that scene, I still remember, like, I recalled the shock of when he got hit with the Avada Kedavra. I was like, what? Like, whoa. And like I still felt that feeling. Like that was just like you said, just gut wrenching, especially hearing his father.
Every single time I
I mean,
watch
as
that movie
Mhm.
and I hear him scream, "That's my boy!" Like, the waterworks are coming. I don't care. I can watch that movie 3 times back to back to back. I'm gonna cry at that scene every single time. Every single time. It's just one of those gut wrenching. Oh, yeah, it was bad. And the crazy thing is, Goblet of Fire was the first Harry Potter movie I saw in the movie theater. Because, like I said, I got into the series in 2005. That was the year Half-Blood Prince came out. The book and Order of the Phoenix, Goblet of Fire came out, the movie. So that was the first Harry Potter movie I went to go see. I went to go see it by myself first because I wanted to make sure it was appropriate for the kids. Then I took the kids to see it. That one was, all 3 of us went to go see it. When I tell you, when Cedric hit the ground, dude, we were all like,
And
oh, it was bad. It was bad. And they played that one little snippet during this reunion. And I was like, damn it, where's my tissue? Can't help it.
Since we're on this topic, the emotional, like when it first played, the Deathly Hollows, when Harry had the resurrection stone and he saw all the people, the people that he lost, his parents, Sirius, not Remus.
Yep, Remus.
Yeah, Remus. And this was the first time like I got really emotional. And it was during that little clip. And then Michelle played the end of the movie right after that because she wanted to watch it again. And when that scene came up, I'm like, I don't know. It made me think of the panel we had, and I was like, am I about to like start crying now?
Yeah.
Like, and then I started thinking about, wanting to be with the people that you lost and how powerful that moment was. Like it plays so much better in the movie than it does in the book.
Yeah.
That it just, I don't know. I got emotional during that part, like both times, like when they talked about it. And I don't know, it was a lot.
Yeah. And it's,
it plus it hits different when you're a father now. Because it's like when you have older kids that like you can put in that position, it's just like, oh. Yeah, I'd be the same way.
Yeah. But I think I agree with you, Anthony, as far as, those moments are emotional in the books, but there are some things like, granted, reading the books, you're going to get a lot more detail. You're going to get a lot more exposition. And there are things in the books that they left out of the films that I feel like were huge mistakes. But there are some things that when you experience it in a visual form, it has a whole different meaning and it hits you differently than you just reading it. Like, yeah, your imagination is one thing and it's great, but actually seeing it on it, like, okay, Snape's death on screen, that hit so much harder for me than in the books. Now, it was bad in the books. It was bad. I remember crying, and I am not a Snape fan. I'm not a Snape sympathizer, none of that. But watching that scene in the movies and like literally feeling every single oh my God, that's something you just can't, there's no comparison.
And on the flip side, Dobby dies. It hits the same in the book and it hits the same in the movie. It's like you just feel it. But you always tell the story about how you just threw the book across the room. Was that?
Mm.
I remember sitting, because I read it in the bookstore, I think, and I just remember sitting there like, really? Really? And then it
Yeah, I
happens in the
think, let me
movie, and
see.
it's like it hits the same, and that's one of those things that hits the same for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Every
not a
single
huge
time.
Dobby fan. Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
Okay, as someone who hasn't read the book yet, does it hit different because they ended the first part of Deathly? That's at the end of Deathly Hallows, the first Deathly Hallows,
Mm-hmm.
right? Does it hit different because of how they like cut it off right there? Does it hit harder than just like reading it, then knowing you have another chapter to get to and keep reading it? Or did it like just because of the finality of it being the last scene of that first part of Deathly Hallows?
It's just being visual.
I think it's just the visual, because like I said, reading it in the book, it was emotional enough, because you're thinking this is Dobby. Dobby can't die. You know what I'm saying? Just like, no, Dobby can't die. He's not supposed to die. And then thinking about the way it hit on screen. First of all, Harry Potter told you not to come save him anymore. He told you not to try to save his life. He told you this way back in Chamber of Secrets. But Dobby still did it anyway. The way, and then also visually, the way that it happened, you know, the way that they kind of showed them apparating and the slow motion with the knife going through, and it just, you know, the way that they played, like you could kind of sort of see who's, I don't even know what to call it when they're apparating, but you can kind of see who's there and who's not. And for that knife to hit at precisely that moment, and it just kind of disappears. And it was just like, you knew what was coming, but the way they played it out was so much harder, because you arrive on the beach, you've got Hermione who's just been tortured, you've got Ron trying to comfort her, Harry goes over to them and he's comforting them, and then they look and they're like, yo, look at Dobby. And when you hear Dobby speaking that little voice, it was just kind of like, I can't watch this. It's almost like watching a child die, because Dobby had that innocence, he had that immaturity a little bit, and he was just so joyful, and just all he wanted to do was help Harry Potter. He just wanted to be Harry Potter's friend.
Pure in spirit.
Yeah.
He was so pure-hearted.
And it was very childlike. So watching Dobby die was like watching a child die. It's kind of, it just hits you different. And, you know, like I said, reading those things, yeah, you can feel it, but when you actually see it, it was bad. And then when Luna came over and closed his eyes, I was done. I was like, no, I can't do this. It was just, it's too much. So, but, and I think too, for me, it hit hard as well, because of there were certain things that they changed in that Malfoy Manor scene that, they changed it to the point where I felt like it took some of the urgency out of the scene, especially in terms of Ron and Hermione, because in the books, when Hermione is being tortured, Ron is not sitting in that dungeon just being like, yo, we got to help her. Ron is screaming his head off. He is banging the doors. He is trying to get to Hermione. And in the book, like, if you ever doubted how Ron felt about Hermione, you knew in that moment when Hermione was being tortured that beyond anything else, Ron loved her, because Ron was ready to commit murder trying to get out of that dungeon to get to her. And I felt like they didn't really portray that properly in the film. So given that scene took place right before Dobby arrived, I wasn't expecting the Dobby scene to be done that perfectly. You know, it's kind of like, oh, you kind of lacked here, so you're probably not going to do this right. No, They were like, oh yeah, you didn't feel the emotion in this scene? Okay, bam, we're going to give it to you all in this one scene, in this little 3-minute scene. So yeah, it hit different. hit a lot different. But let's see what else about this reunion. Oh, I will never get tired of seeing Daniel's screen test, and that screen test of the three of them. It's so freaking cute. It's like, you know, you get to see screen tests every once in a while. People release stuff. They look so cute, and they were so little, and it was just like, oh, look at the babies. They were so cute. But it's like in that one screen test where you have the trio, you are not watching Daniel, Emma, and Rupert audition. You are watching Harry, Ron, and Hermione in that little screen test. Like, they were so cute, and they had their parts down pat. Like, if they would have cast anybody else, I would have been like, what are y'all doing? Even though, you know, we know that there were other people up for the role, but yeah, that's one thing I will say as far as the films, they did get a lot of the casting right. I can't really think of anybody right now that I would say, okay, yeah, y'all could have done a little bit better casting. I would say maybe for James and Lily Potter, the times we've seen them as adults, I think they probably could have cast people that looked a little younger or made them look a little bit different. But we also have to remember this was like late 70s, early 80s. So they look a little different, you know.
Well, you know, they always try to say that people in the wizarding world age a little bit faster. Then they live longer and age faster.
That's because they don't have to deal with electricity or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think I remember. It's not my theory, but yeah, they age they age faster but live longer was the thing.
Right. But yeah, I think
which would explain why Dumbledore had such a turnaround from Fantastic Beasts.
You know,
to
that duel with Grindelwald did some things to him. We'll see. I think we'll see some of that in Fantastic Beasts 3. But yeah, I think, you know, when you think about all the things Dumbledore went through, you know, he has this maybe or maybe not unrequited love for Grindelwald. Grindelwald is basically trying to recruit him to help quote unquote change the world. Yeah. You know, they get into this duel, they get into this fight. I think during the midst of all this stuff, Dumbledore accidentally they
never say who threw the spell that killed her, but
yes, but his sister dies in the midst of all this, you know, and then you have to chase this dude down, and then your headmaster, and you have the second coming of evil as one of your students. Yeah, Dumbledore went through a lot. He should have aged. He should have aged. But that'll be interesting to see how they do that in Fantastic Beasts.
Is there a reason? Did they give a reason why? Is it Michael Gambon why he didn't show?
No, they didn't. But I'm gonna be honest. Michael Gambon was one of those people who I feel like really, he wasn't really enamored with being in the Harry Potter series. You know, maybe that changed over the years. But I know when he first got into it, he was one of those people when he talked about it, it was kind of like, oh, this is just another job. You know, didn't really care too much for like the fan side of it and all this other stuff. And then also age might have been a factor, you know. We do have to think, you know, thinking about the whole thing I said at the beginning with some of them, you know, it looking like some of them filmed differently. You know, we are still in the pandemic. We do have this new Omicron variant that's kind of bringing the COVID numbers back up. So maybe they just kept like a lot, because if you think about it, he wasn't there. Maggie Smith wasn't there. Who else? Why did her name just escape me?
Kenneth Branagh wasn't there.
Mrs. Weasley. Lord. Why did her name just escape me?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. But I know she's recovering from cancer.
Yeah. So, and so it could have been that the people who may have been more at risk, they probably were like, okay, no. And then they probably also decided, no, I'm not going to make this trip, or I'm not going to do this because of that. You know, it could have been a lot of different things. I mean, we're living in very strange times. You know, and just me thinking about the whole Daniel, Emma, and Rupert thing, where they were kind of, like I said, they seem like kind of separated from themselves, or, you know, from each other. I mean, like I said, we got to think about it. Rupert has a baby at home now. So maybe he didn't want to be around a whole bunch of people, you know, just in case. So it could have been a lot of things, but again, there were certain things that just kind of threw me. Like we got a little bit of you know, we got a one-on-one discussion between Emma and Rupert, which was really sweet, but we didn't get Rupert and Dan, and that was just kind of weird to me again. So I don't know. It's just, like I said, I felt very nostalgic, but there were some things that I wish we could have seen a little bit more of in terms of the interaction with people. But you know, I didn't hate it. I loved it. I really loved it. It has made me think about going back to read the books.
Oh, well, no, it didn't do that for me. But
really,
but it made me want to watch the movies again.
Yeah, that too. But it's been
the thing is, I've already read the books twice.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's it. No.
Well, I've read Half-Blood Prince maybe 3 or 4 times, but average maybe twice for each one.
Okay. I think I've read through the entire 7-book series maybe 4 or 5 times. And I know, like, the earlier books I've read more because like I said, when I first got into the books, it was right before Half-Blood Prince came out. So I read all the books that first weekend, and then I read them again right before Half-Blood Prince came out, and then I went through the series again right before Deathly Hallows came out, and then I went through the series a few more times. But it's been like it's probably been a good 10 years since I picked up the books. And
the great thing is it reminded me of the magic of the series, like the books and the movies.
Yeah.
My daughter is 13, and I think either last year or the year before, she started reading the books.
Okay.
And she watches the movies. Like when we get up in the morning and she's waiting to go to school, she's down here watching one of them.
Okay.
And she won't say it out loud, but I know she really likes it. Like, she likes being a Hufflepuff. She thought about maybe becoming a Ravenclaw. She's like, no, I'm a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, but, Hufflepuff, baby.
She was reading the books. And but she watches the movies like all the time. We catch her watching the movies. You go into her room and the movie's playing, one of them.
Yeah. So I used to do that a lot, but it's been a while since I've actually watched the movies. And I think part of that is, like, in the same way that the movies remind me of good times, they also make me sad sometimes, because, like, my little core group that we used to always watch the movies together, like, we're all spread across the country now. So we don't get to watch, like, it used to be nothing to say, yo, let's do a Potter marathon, and everybody show up at my house, and we'll have our, like, junk food and our popcorn and our drinks and sit there and watch it. And now it's like 2 of us are here in Georgia, but we're, like, on opposite sides of the metro area. One is in North Carolina, one is in Rhode Island. One of them we don't even speak to anymore. Huh?
We've been at your house for a marathon.
Yes, you have.
Because Michelle, and she was asking questions the whole time.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where I haven't sat down and really watched it in years. Like, if it comes on, I might watch it in the background every once in a while, but I haven't, like, done a marathon in years because of that, because I'm like, my marathon buddies aren't here. So it's kind of sad in that sense, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and my best friend said that she's gonna start rereading the book. So I think I'm gonna do that too. And then I'll probably sit down and watch the movies. But it's also one of those things. I know if I start watching the movies, I'm just gonna get sucked in, and then I'm gonna be doing Harry Potter, nothing else but Harry Potter for like weeks on end. And we have other stuff that we have to talk about, and I have other stuff.
How are you gonna read these books? We got other books to read.
I know.
You got other stuff to read.
I know.
Can't read these
I
books.
know. But I think in the same way too, like, you know, we've talked about it when discussing other shows that are, you know, page to screen versions. It's been years since I've been able to like really sit down and start a book series and keep it going, because I get so distracted, or, you know, my concentration is just not what it was when it comes to reading. Maybe if I go back and start the Harry Potter series again, it'll reignite my love for reading, just like it did all those years ago, you know, to kind of give me that nudge to say, oh, okay, you know what? There are other book series that are great, because like literally, you know, I had always been a reader, but it was just kind of one of those, I'll read here, I'll read there. I had never read a series and gotten into a series the way that I did Harry Potter, except for maybe in elementary, middle school, starting with like Sweet Valley, you know? So I got into the Harry Potter series. And then of course, after that, what comes after Harry Potter? Twilight at that time, and then the Hunger Games, and then the Divergent series. And I think for me, the Beautiful Creatures series, the Mortal Instruments. So Harry Potter really started kind of getting me back into YA and going through these series. And it's like, now I'm just kind of like, I don't know, there's just hasn't really been anything that just kind of sucked me in that way. Shadow and Bone came close, but it's nothing like it was with those other series. So I don't know, I'm still waiting to see. So maybe I'll read a little bit of Harry Potter, and that'll kind of jumpstart me back. So you can do it with me, Anthony. I know we've got Shadow. I know you've got Shadow and Bone to read, and we've got a Discovery of Witches and who knows what else. But
what is the Outlander?
Outlander, yes. But you know, Mike has to read the book, so maybe we can read along with him.
We do like a book club.
Hey, that would be fun.
That would kind of be fun, actually.
Yeah, that would be fun. Just kind of rediscovering Potter, because I know there's a lot of things, you know. Also, when I started reading those books, it was like in my 30s, my early 30s. Matter of fact, no, I started reading Harry Potter at 30. So that's been 16 years now. So maybe going back reading it now, just kind of as I've gotten wiser, you know, more, you know, more educated about things in the world, just going back reading it. I know that there probably, I've, you know, I know people have talked about going back to reread it, and they notice it's a little more problematic than when they first read it. And I'm kind of preparing myself for that as well. But I think overall, the original feeling I got from the series, and again, from the people that I've met, bonded with, become family with, I think that will kind of, again, always keep HP like close to my heart. So, you know, I may just do that.
Yeah. And I like having something that I can relate to my kid with now. She's into Harry Potter. So
right.
I think that's cool.
Right. So, but yeah, Mike, we got to get you into these books.
I know. But just like you said, we got so many other books like in queue right now.
I know. But here's the thing. So I don't know how true this is. I have heard that they are trying to develop a Harry Potter TV series. So it'll be, look, don't look like that. I've actually been wanting a TV series for a while, because I feel like if they follow some of the formulas that they do with TV series now, if they do even an 8-episode, season, 10-episode season, if you think about, and of course, Mike, you won't know this because you haven't read them yet, but if you think about a lot of the backstories that they omitted from the films because there just wasn't enough time, yeah, they could make it, and they could make it really great. Now, will they get the kind of casting that they had for the films? I don't know if they'll ever beat that casting because those characters
are
were
they
like,
gonna redo it? Is that the plan?
probably so.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I would be interested in a much better version of the Half-Blood Prince than what we got on screen.
Yeah, well, that, and if you think about it, like the major things that they missed for Prisoner of Azkaban, the whole backstory on the Marauders, I know plenty of people who want to see that. For, I think, Goblet of Fire, they were pretty true to the book. There wasn't, I can't think of anything like major that they missed out from the book. Not that I can think of. Order of the Phoenix had some problems. I really hate that they kind of condensed the conversation between Dumbledore and Harry after Sirius died, like in the office. Like, there's a whole chapter of conversation that they omitted from that film that I think would have made a lot more sense. They took that out. I would love to see that. Half-Blood Prince, so problematic. You know, there were some good things about Half-Blood Prince. The humor in Half-Blood Prince was amazing.
Okay.
The humor with it was amazing.
Was that the one where she was like, she thinks you're the chosen one?
Yes,
well,
that's the one where Ronald and Lavender were in the relationship. That's the one where Ron got poisoned. He got slipped the love potion and he was looking at the moon. So all that stuff was great.
All that stuff is great. And the book and the movie should not have been called The Half-Blood Prince. It should be called something else.
I know, because you literally skipped the whole backstory behind Half-Blood Prince. The whole
plot.
Like,
the plot is gone.
So there are some things that I would like to see done a little bit better. And I feel like a TV show would give them a chance to do that. Like, give me 7 seasons of 8 episode seasons. That's plenty enough time for them to get everything in and do it right. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't know what they'll do about casting because, like I said, you had pretty much damn near perfect casting for those films. And as far as like you said, the creme de la creme of British acting royalty, you will not get that in another film series ever. You know, especially we have most of those people are gone now. There's a good portion of them are gone. Alan Rickman is gone. Richard Griffiths is gone. John Hurt, Robert Hardy. So there's a lot of them that's gone. So you're not going to get that, but we still have some talent in this world, even with that older generation. So I would love to see it. So, do
you think they're going to make Hermione, if they recast it, make Hermione closer to how she was in the book?
Probably not.
I don't know. They probably could, because if you think about it, her description in the book, like, she could go either way. I mean, when I read her, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't picture her as a Black girl. You know, I don't necessarily read somebody with olive skin and think a Black person. I always think a white person because of, that's what I grew up with as far as descriptions of people with that kind of complexion. It would be great to see them cast her as, a Black girl or a person of color. That would be cool. I don't know if I see it happening, but maybe.
It's possible. Like, look what they did with The Wheel of Time. I mean, they
true.
They colored just about every character.
They did, yeah,
in the show.
Yeah,
and that's not how they are in the book. So
right.
It's a possibility. I don't see them doing it, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. So we can hope.
Yeah,
we can hope. Any final thoughts on the reunion special or Harry Potter in general?
It was fun to revisit the magic of the series and the cast.
Yeah.
And to see them as regular people and seeing them grown up,
Mm-hmm.
and go back over those memories, which brings up the memories that I have of reading the series
Mm-hmm.
and watching the movies. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember you saying you wanted to do it and talk about it. I was like, I'm not gonna watch that. Well, I
Right.
don't want to
Right.
watch that.
Right.
I don't want to watch
You're gonna
this and then
start
watch it.
listening to me. Yeah,
Tears
because
here, there, whatever. But yeah.
because when I said somebody's gonna have to watch this and talk about it with me. He was like, "Are you really gonna make me watch this?" I was like, "Are you a true Harry Potter fan if you don't watch it?" Like, oh,
Yes, you are. No, don't disparage those people.
okay. That'd be nice. I won't be one of those snobs to be like, "Oh my God, you're not a true Harry Potter fan." But I really do feel like for diehard fans, like you have to watch this series. It's just even with all the complaints that we have had over the years about the films, those films still like one, you have to separate them from the books. That you have to. But if you think about it and just watching it, like you said, it does have a lot to do with the movie going experience and how you experience it with friends. Like I remember doing screen on the green in Atlantic Station with my friends watching it, people getting mad at us because we're literally sitting there reciting every line of the films. Like we got on people's nerves doing that, but it was just so natural because that's what we would do when we would watch it at home or whatever, and it just became habit, um seeing Order of the Phoenix in a, I don't know if you remember this, what did they used to call it, black curtain screening or something, and you would go see the film like a week before it came out, and just remembering watching Order of the Phoenix, and when Harry tells Umbridge, "I'm sorry, Professor, but I must not tell lies," the whole movie theater jumped up, shouted, screamed. That was the first time I had ever been in a movie theater with that kind of reaction. And it's like nowadays you kind of get it with all the Marvel films and stuff, but that was the first time I had ever been in a movie theater with that kind of reaction. I was like, oh, I like this. Like I'm watching with real fans. This is what a real fan experience is like. Like you just, going to midnight movie premieres. They don't do those anymore, but they did them for Harry Potter. And we used to go dressed up in costume or, have our house, our house representation. I miss those times. I really do. And watching this reunion kind of brought a lot of that back. So I'm glad. I would love to see them do a more inclusive reunion. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll do one for the first film really, or no, film release is already gone. So maybe they'll do something else where we can get a little bit more, because there were a lot of people who were missing from this. A lot of the younger actors, like I said, the older actors, they probably were like, okay, yes, too risky, but I would like to see them do something like this again. It's kind of like, if you think about the way Rupert said it doesn't really feel like we've earned a reunion yet because it's only been 20 years, but at the same time, it's been 20 years. So I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Doesn't seem like it.
I know, but I mean, time flies. What was it Rupert said? He was like, time, I think Emma said, it feels like time has flown and then no time has gone by at all. But Rupert was like,
yeah,
I've had kidney stones and a baby. So yeah, I feel it. I feel the age. So I don't know. My kids were in elementary school when I started reading this series, and now they're all grown. So that's a marker of time, if anything, but it's cool. I enjoyed it. So yeah, we're gonna have to do this again, because I could talk about Harry Potter all day long. Like, yeah. So we're gonna have to find some. Mike, you're gonna have to start reading these books. Give us a reason to talk about Harry Potter.
I realize this.
Yep. So but I guess that's our trip down Harry Potter memory lane for now. So That's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can also find us on YouTube and all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.